Hey everybody, welcome to Season 5, Episode 18 of the Hard Truth Inside the Football Injury podcast with me, Philip Ideson, and Darren MacAnthony, the chairman and owner of Peterborough United. We're recording this on Wednesday afternoon UK time after a couple of games this week. We will go into the games in a moment, but before that we'll talk about transfer deadline day that's coming up in a few days. But even before that, how are you feeling? Like last time we were leaving you with the flu. You just got over your kidney stones.
Yeah. I'm
hearing
90%.
a bit in your voice still a little bit.
Yeah, I'm 90% there, but still, like the leftovers, I'm just a bit run down. So I've got a really busy few weeks coming up, and then hopefully on the 20th I'm going to Dubai with a missus for 2 weeks. I need to switch off and I won't do that either because I'm doing a business out in Dubai, but I will, try and get some sun because
there's levels of being on and not.
Yeah. Just like the next few weeks are mad. Like I'm Monday deadline day. I'm doing Sky Sports primetime 7 till 9. They've asked me to come back, so I'm doing that, and then I have to fly across the TalkSport towers. I'm doing the deadline night with Jim White I think it's from 10 till 1 in the morning. Okay. And then Tuesday I fly from Heathrow to Orlando. And then Thursday I go to Alabama. My daughter's got into about 7 or 8 colleges, thank God. So we're going to go visit the colleges now. We know the ones she's got into. So I do Alabama. Following week, I'm going to North Carolina to see 3 colleges there. Clemson, various places. And then going to see my son for a day, who's up in Auburn. And then obviously a lot of work going on I haven't been home to the States since the start of December. And then I'll go on the 20th of Feb to Dubai. So it's just, there's a lot going on. So look, I'm feeling good. Obviously much better after last night, bar the 7 minutes of injury time. It's fucking,
I was feeling.
I said to Barry, like next door, I said, I guarantee you this will be 6 to 8 minutes. And if we were winning, it would have been 3 minutes, as has happened this season. It's fucking bizarre. Like, they made all their subs, 3 of them at halftime. I think they made 2 more, and we made a couple, but there were no injuries really in the second half, bar Ricky for like a minute, 7 minutes. And we weren't time wasting, like, with all due respect. It was just fucking bizarre. So
didn't you keep, we'll go to the game now, rather, and we'll talk about deadline day in a minute, but didn't you keeper get booked for time wasting after like 64 minutes or something?
Ridiculous. Like, with all due respect, we're Peterborough United. Yeah. Like, no matter how bad it is, we're not time wasting at home. I mean, fuck off. I'll be honest with you. The ref in the first half was awesome. Like, they battered our players. Like, Norburn tried to take out our players multiple times. I thought he was going to get red carded. And the referee was brilliant. And I think their manager obviously said something at halftime or got into it, because the change in the referee in the second half, we didn't get a thing. We had players that were getting kicked in the air, not a thing. We put our hands on their player to go one-on-one defending, free kick. It was the standard of officiating. My goodness, 19 years. I've said it all season. I thought, great referee. And then whatever happened at halftime, don't lose your nerve. Like, what are you doing? Straight away, booking our players, giving them free kicks. It was pathetic. Like, I just want like fairness. Do you know what I mean? Across the board.
It just stops any momentum for the game. We see that so many times. And it just stop, start. Or in the first half, it'll be flowing football and there's nothing. Right. Everyone's kicking themselves in the air. And that's fine if it's both sides.
Be consistent. Like, in the first half, they absolutely kicked us everywhere. And he was consistent, and both ways. And then the second half, it was just basically they got 90% of the time we put our hands on their player back. It was a free kick. There was one where CJ was defending 1-on-1, and he won the battle, and he was on the floor with their player trying to break away, and he gave on the edge of our box a free kick. It was the most. And I'm just looking at it, going, "What are you doing?" And that's an advert for managers to obviously scream at referees at halftime or officials. Like, if you're going to get in their head, like, we need them to be stronger than that. Like, so, and then the 7 minutes was just, and I think he even played a minute longer. Like, what are you doing? Like, seriously, just do your fucking job. Like, is it that difficult to ask for these officials? I'm sick of hearing about, part-time, do your fucking job. You're paid to do a job, do your job. Do it properly, do it fairly, do it competently. This isn't rocket fucking science. Do your job. Like, is that too much to ask? We got to do headlines about referees coming out of the closet, whatever else, to protect themselves about the crap they've done or whatever. Just own shit. Own shit. I don't give a shit who you screw. Nobody does nowadays. It's 2025. Don't care. Like, seriously, I don't care. Like, if we had 11 footballers who were all gay and we were top of the league by 10 points, do you think I couldn't.
No one's going to give a crap, are
I
they?
couldn't give a shit. Like, seriously. Like, we've got a squad of 30 players. Statistically, that means 3 or 4 of them are probably. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't headlines in 2025, and we got to move past this crap, you know. So I heard Simon Jordan talk about it yesterday, and I agreed with him with this referee and the scandal and stuff, and he suddenly come out and, you know, whatever. Well, what was that? Excuse your behaviour? Like, who cares? Live your life.
Yeah.
Screw who you want. Like, nowadays, people are screwing everybody. I couldn't give a shit. Say it to my kids all the time. I don't care who you screw, as long as you're happy. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, really, really don't give a shit. Like, seriously. Anyway, back to the deadline day. Yeah. So obviously,
let's actually go back. Let's go to deadline day in a minute. What we can go through the 3 games that you've had since we last spoke. So and we had Exeter 1-1 at home. First of all, 1-0 for the vast majority of the game. I think there's penalty and injury time.
We missed 4 open goals.
Yeah.
We were, you know, Leighton Orient 0-0, really solid, not very good attacking. Exeter, I thought, more us. We had 4 open goals. We missed absolute sitters. I mean, absolute sitters. You know, one of our wingers missed 1 yard off the line. You know, the second half, the same thing. Gustav, half a yard from the line. I mean, and then you just go, yeah, it's at the 89th minute, and you're like, they haven't laid a glove on us. Our goalie's not made a save. And then just a tackle that didn't even made to be made, penalty. God bless our goalie. He's made a brilliant penalty save for the second time this season, and 4 of their players are first to the ball.
Yeah.
And that's just like...
It's not really acceptable, is it?
It's not acceptable. No, it's not. And it's not acceptable from the player's perspective, the coaching perspective, for that to happen twice.
Yeah.
Because you should be on alert, say, as a coach, if that's your job on the goalie and the set pieces, whatever that. Our goalie's a good goalkeeper for saving penalties. So we've seen it happen at Bolton, and we were second to the ball. We see it happen then to win the game, and he's made a world-class save, and like none of his teammates follow up. So that can't happen ever again, because I'm always one of those people, you don't make the same mistakes twice. So, and, you know, and then we roll into Lincoln.
Yeah,
so
and at this point, you're thinking you turn things around, you know, you're heading in the right direction.
I was gutted. I was feeling ill. I was gutted. You know, we were at that game. We blew the Exeter thing late on. You know, our fault probably as well for not taking the chances, not being a bit more offensive. But you can understand when you're low in confidence and you haven't won since the old king died, you know, things like what happened again at Exeter happen. So then you go to Lincoln, you're thinking we haven't won away since like August, which is crazy. Lincoln aren't on fire. You know, they're kind of, I think, mid-table or whatever else, you know, doing okay. But we've always done well against Lincoln, so you expect us to go there. We've got a great away support, nearly 2,000 plus fans. And we just don't show up. And it's you know, you'd have heard the manager talk about it. We didn't win a tackle. We didn't show up. And the worst part was, first goal set piece, really easy. If you studied Lincoln and the way they take set pieces, they overload the back post with big guys, and they're the smaller guys inside the box. And I'm watching Malik Muddersill defending 2 guys on the back post, the biggest guys. And I'm like, I've seen the reports on Lincoln set plays.
Yeah.
How's that happened? So that's 1. Manny makes a lazy tackle 2. But to be fair to Manny, it was Gustav had to come to the halfway line. Our striker's coming 50 yards deep because there's so much distance between him and everyone else. And he's lost the ball and they've dribbled in. And Manny's just thrown out a leg, which has happened one too many times this season defensively for us. Edge of the box, and they ping it, not on the top corner, but beats the wall, goes on the top corner. 2-0. It's okay. Manager, to be fair to him, makes good attacking changes at halftime. And you're thinking, okay, let's come out and see what we're about, because that was bad. And also 1-0 down, Ryan's had a free kick that's gone on the top corner and it's bounced out. If you're 6th in the league, it goes into the top corner. Yeah. So a long ball's played down. Keane's now at right wing back. He's got 3 choices. He can not let the ball bounce and head the ball to the goalkeeper. He can control the ball and use his physicality to stop their player who's coming in on him to knock out the ball, pass it back, or he can make a mistake and their player can nick it, and he then makes another mistake and gives a penalty away. I'm not going to blame Keane. He's a young player. He's playing right wing back. He's a winger. He made a mistake. He's an honest player. I've no problem with that. You know, 3-0. Ricky scores. 3-1. You think, okay, is there life?
Yeah.
Is there life? And here we go. Long throw in, another set piece. So the long throw in, we, instead of head the ball 20 yards the other way, we head it up in the air. It falls back in the box. It gets smashed against our player going out. It's not even going, it's gone out for a goal kick. And our player then pings it back into the goal. You couldn't write this shit. And then at that stage, we're just done. And the manager obviously then, you know, I mean, I'm watching it thinking, you know, oh, how am I going to lift the manager when I speak to him? I've got to think about this really, like, because A, we've had a great support. We've absolutely fucking not shown up. We've been battered. Lincoln, as he said in his thing, they don't score 5 goals. They could have scored 7 or 8. It was fucking, So, where we are in the league, our fans, everything going on. And you're just like, I thought the previous 3 games where we'd won in the cup, we had 2 good league performances, the new 3 of the back 4 new, fucking been brilliant signings. I thought we'd turn the corner. I really fancied us to go to Lincoln and win. And it just went fucking out the window. And obviously the manager then lost his shit afterwards.
Yeah. So Darren then said in his post-match interview that it's finding the quote here, so I'm not just going verbatim, softest team he's worked with. What did you feel when you heard him say that?
I felt he was telling the truth. I felt he was emotional. He was angry. And I'm glad, because if he'd come out and he basically like blagged it and he was emotionless and he hadn't said anything, I'd worry. I love the fact my manager has that about him, that he's not been in this situation in League One with us. And he's frustrated. He's frustrated with his players. He's probably frustrated with his coaches. He's frustrated at, when you're conceding set plays.
The whole world is against him.
Well, that's coaching as well as playing. And he's got coaches. I've always said best in class. And I love my coaches. But we've been way below, as have the players. We all have collectively, and that'll include me in that too. So our standards have dropped way down. And we just have to, but you can't finger point and just blame each other. And I don't think he did that. I think he told the truth. I think he said, look, we've had a great away support today come to watch us fight and play a game against Lincoln. And we haven't laid a glove on them. We haven't made a tackle. We made basic mistakes. We've had no life in us. What's he meant to say? He came out and told the truth. What he said in his interview, he said to the players in the dressing room. And in fact, one player who was a new signing said the same to all the players in the dressing room, called them the softest bunch or whatever. And they needed to hear that. And I like that. I kind of wish it was one of my players that had been here longer said it. And that's maybe what's been lacking this year. But I love the fact he said it.
Well, coming from an outsider, it might have more of an impact.
100%. And this guy's been in battles in his past before. And he knew what he was coming into. But he also knows potentially if he joins us in the future that we're about promotions. But he looked around. That's just, that can't happen. And he wasn't great either, by the way, on the day. And he admitted that when he said those words. He said, look, I haven't been great today, but we're soft as shit. And so I basically sent the manager 3 questions and said, take your time. He was driving home on his own after the game, which he does sometimes, because Lincoln's not a million miles from Peterborough. And I think it's good for him to get out off the coach and away from the players after that kind of performance. And I said, look, I've got 3 questions for you. Have a think about it and ring me when you know the answers to these 3 things, and let's chew the fat. And I could go a couple of ways. One, I could go, this is terrible. What are we doing, Gaffer? I could go another way. I'm listening to the BBC. I'm listening to 𝗛𝗿𝗱 𝗧𝗿𝗂𝘁𝗵 calling me out on BBC commentary about, someone said, it's the time to question the manager. And he was like, well, you want to question the people who recruited the players. And I'm listening to all of this criticism, people who are always asking me for help. So, but that's fine. That's their job. They can criticize. And it's always when you're at a low moment, you hear from these people, but you want to hear from them in the other way.
Right, sticking the boot in, right?
Yeah. But that's fine. A lot of people have probably waited for that opportunity. I'm okay with that. I'm a big boy. We usually do pretty well in League One, so we're having a shit 6 months. I've said this. It's been a fucking disaster on all fronts. But we are where we are. So he rang me, and we had about 90 minutes on the phone. We spoke while he was driving home. And my part of that call was to A, make sure he was okay, B, hear him out, and then throw my own thought process in. And I said at the start, look, this isn't, throwing fingers, but we have to come to the realization. No football team coached by the best manager in the league, with the staff he has in place who are well paid, can concede set pieces like that.
Yeah.
And out of 72 clubs in the league, we've been the worst team for set pieces, for long throw set pieces.
Yeah.
And I've just signed 3 new defenders. So it can't always just be about the players. I can't just sign another 4.
Yeah. And
it can't be the players aren't listening. Eventually it has to be competence of set them upright, do whatever. So I just said to the gaffer, do something different. Whatever you're doing, do something different. Get your coaches, because he'll have coaches working on those things. Do something different. Take them out of their comfort zone. Secondly, I said, are you picking players that you can trust? Thirdly, we've got a striker we think is going to be one of the best we've had. Setting us up with him 50 yards away from everyone else and playing a central midfielder, a 6 and 8 as a 10. whatever
He's
else.
just going to keep tracking back to find the ball.
Right. Little things like that. Are we at that moment of time where we should be, experimenting?
Yeah.
Square holes, round pegs, or do we play players in the right position, even though maybe the cricket hasn't been playing his best, even though he's only played 5-6 games for us? Do we go through it and pick an 11 players in the right positions? People that you think you can trust will put a performance in. Pick an 11 and play the 11, and let's see what we can get out of them. And finally, embrace people like Hughes who've come in with that experience and with that mentality to help you in that dressing room. And finally, maybe talk is cheap, and you've been too many meetings with certain players that have been here a long time that's not really working. So you don't have to explain yourself when you make changes. Because a lot of managers will always explain, and you'll have players knocking the door, and why am I not in the team? Well, enough of that. Talk is cheap. At the end of the day, let's talk, more action. So I said that would be my, ideas for you. And I said, resetting the balance with your coaches to expect more from them. Are they giving you enough? And like I said, I love my coaches. So again, I don't want headlines from Swanee or anyone else saying I'm digging the coaches out, I'm doing whatever. It was a really, really brilliant conversation. Anyway, I left them at that and said, go home, have a few drinks with your missus, back to normal, forget about Lincoln. Let's talk Sunday morning. Sunday morning, we spoke at 11:30. We spoke for another hour, and we were going through it. And I'd gone back over, we'd both gone back over the data, the game, the whatever else, and just said, and funny, we went over lots of things this season. And and he just said, look, I'm going to pick this 11 for Tuesday. This is what I think. And I was like, yeah, love it. I said, love it, go for it. And we need to get a tune out of Ricky. Yeah. He was brilliant up to mid-December. He dropped off a bit. I don't know if that's the attention, but Ricky, we need Ricky back to being Ricky. Whether he's playing wide left, up top, we need Ricky being Ricky. We need to get Cricky up and going, Chris Con Clark, and we need to get the best out of Archie. The last 5 or 6 weeks, he's not been at his best. Well, he had a new midfield partner last night, and I thought Archie was back to his best. We know, we spoke about it and said we know that the 3 new defenders have made a difference, bar the Lincoln game. They've been brilliant. And last night he went with Nevitt next to Hughes, and Nevitt was outstanding. Nevitt's 18, 19. He's an absolute, he's going to be a player. But it's the defensive side they're worried about. But last night he had it, kicked everything. He was better defensively than his usual silky passing. So he'd learned the ugly side of the game next to Hughes. Yeah. He was very good. So, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about Sam Hughes. So, you've talked, I think Darren has talked about it was difficult to find a centre-half to bring in. You found Sam, you brought Sam in, and within, 3 or 4 games, he was made captain for the game last night.
Yeah, that was the right decision. I love that decision. He's a leader. He's been in battles with Burton. He's a proper man. He's a character. He's a captain that actually talks and leads by example. He's not out of form like some of the other people maybe that were in leadership roles. Yep. It takes away the pressure of people who are in those positions at a young age, maybe they can't cope or who are distracted with outside things like transfer speculation. He didn't have his best game against Lincoln, but he was brilliant last night. He was brilliant in the previous 2 games. So Lincoln collectively was just a fucking disaster. We've got CJ, who's the best right back I've seen for a long time. We've waited years to sign a right back like that. Money well spent. He shouldn't have played last night with his calf injury. That's the kind of character he is. Loads of other players wouldn't have played. Yeah. I fucking love his spunk. I love it. One of the best one-on-one defenders. We will spend a lot of time working on him in the summer on the offensive side of things, where we need him now to be as good in the other half as that half. Yep. And he could be Harrison-like as a fullback for us. But he, as a character, 22 years old, fucking brilliant. He's already got his own little gym club going on where he's dragging Cricky in to work out every day. And, I love shit like that. So, and then Teo on the other side, who we tried to sign for 500 grand from Lincoln a few years ago, and he went to Blackburn. He's a character as well. If you watched him last night, he was 3 against 1 at one stage, and he won the battle. So those are good players. We knew they'd be good players. We're really happy with that. All 3 of them have got League One experience. All 3 of them we feel, are good for the club, good characters, good players. And that gives us the platform. So last night, obviously, we won 1-0. And people will say, oh, well, I don't love the football. I don't. It's not about the football. I'm not a 1-0 man. I love a 5-4. Our under-16s beat Lincoln on Saturday 6-5. Young Bolu scored all 6 goals. He's the leading goal scorer for our 18s. He's only 16. And he's already got, but the 18s weren't playing, so they dropped him back into the 16s, and he got 6 in the game. 6 in the fucking game. He's Ricky, but he can finish in a big way. And that's not a slight on Rick.
Yeah.
At that age, the difference was this kid can finish, but he's as quick as Ricky.
Yep.
He's an exciting, I shouldn't even mention his fucking name. He's an exciting prospect, and a good attitude and a good lad and good family, and wants to be with this football club. So last night, it was like result over performance. And the back four with Neva were superb. Our goalie didn't make a save. Didn't make a fucking save. Bar kicking it against their player that nearly went into the net. Didn't have a save to fucking make. If he can cut that shit out, he could be as good as anyone in this league. Archie looked like Archie next to the boy from Man City, who had come on against Lincoln as a sub. Remember, we signed this boy in the summer. He's been fucking injured for 6 months. If we'd had him fit, fucking could have been a different story, at some other parts. But he was very good with Arch. Chris Clark worked his nuts off. He's getting close. He should have scored last night. It was in the top corner, and their goalie, who I believe is going to the Premier League for 6 million, made an unbelievable save. Ricky suddenly was running like fucking Ricky runs. He was playing wide left, and that was all what we need from Ricky. It was like he'd woken up. He'd obviously the last few weeks, I don't know what was up with him, but he was back at it last night. You know what I mean? And it was just like, it was a real team performance. First half, we were dominant. Second half, they dominated us for 20 minutes, but we didn't capitulate. Crawley did the same to us a few weeks ago, and we last won 45 days ago. They dominated us in the second half, and we capitulated and conceded 3 goals.
Yep.
But last night, we didn't, because we've got different defenders now. We've got people who can deal with it. And then the last 15 minutes, which I loved, we came back into the game and absolutely dominated the last 15 minutes, which is what you want to do. Because
you don't want to just sit back and invite the pressure.
Against Exeter, we did. We invited it on, whatever, and then we made the mistake. Last night, we went the other way where, Ibby could have scored, Con Clark could have scored, Ricky should have scored. We absolutely ran all over them the last 15, 20 minutes. And then the guy put 7 minutes up. I don't think they put anything in, bar one thing, into our box in 7 minutes, which again showed, okay, it's a building block. And the next building block is, right, we've won at home. First time in 45 days we won in the league. We've got another clean sheet, second one in 3 home games. Should have been 3 in a row if you take the penalty away last week. We now have to not go off the bogey about winning away from home.
Yeah.
And I think listening to the dressing room last night and whatever else, they see it now. And I think Saturday they took the severity of the situation. Some players maybe didn't think how serious it was, where we were, where we hadn't won, where suddenly the league position was, people's fears. We're better than that. We're better than that.
I think with the league position, with the score, I mean, some of those can be career limiting.
100%.
If you don't come back and come out of that can be career limiting. It's not just one bad game.
Absolutely.
Maybe that's something that kind of clicked with them.
A lot of it's mental. We know we have the talent. We know we have players. You can see at the moment, like you're looking at us last night winning the game 1-0. It's not free flowing. We're not creating 20 chances. We're not getting the wingers with width, like going down each side and putting crosses in galore. You go back to 10 weeks ago and we beat, I think it was Cambridge 6-1. And you look at the free-flying football, and you look at last night. Football's about confidence. It can change very quickly. Yeah. Here's the good news: is if we can knock off a win on Sunday away from home, get that confidence built up. We've got 𝗛𝗏 back in he's actually ahead of schedule. He's going to be back the 3rd week of February. He's the best player in League One. Right. We haven't had the best player in League One since the start of December. Yeah, like
that's your outlet. You get your foundation sorted at the back, then him coming back to the outlet.
And we've got that. The back line are going to learn how we play. They're still learning. There's a lot of long balls because they're still learning. So they've only been with us like 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. They've been with us, 3 of those players. So they're going to learn. We will improve. And as we keep winning, the free-flowing football will come back. Archie will let the shackles off. The Man City boy will get confident. Con Clark scores 1, he'll get 10 or 11. All those things. Ibby, I think there's a player in Ibby. I think every time he starts, he doesn't quite take his opportunity because he's playing within himself. Yeah. But I honestly think with a running games, there's a player in there, whether he's right, left. I honestly think like there is a player in there. Keane, there's a player in. These are players that we think definitely year 2, they're going to be great players. So, there's a lot to be optimistic about. So we've got to win. We've got to stay in that cup and do our best to get to Wembley and then just basically knock things off. And at the same time, we still got an eye on next season and rebuilding, not rebuilding, but those final few pieces that we want to put together a squad we think can go for it next season, right at the top end. Yeah. So as bad as it may seem after Saturday, and I'm sure everyone was calling for people's heads, and it was like, whatever else. I'm glad we stuck together. I'm glad it just shows you all this shit about managers losing dressing rooms and people calling for a manager's head, whatever. Look at what the team did for the manager last night. Yeah. That's a team that are behind the manager and his staff. That's the truth.
When you have seen managers lose the dressing room, what does that look like?
There's a lot of noise coming from the dressing room to me. Agents, players, not to me, but via other people to me. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of mess. There's a lot of nonsense going on. My manager controls our training ground. Like everything, controls our training ground. I've just spoke to him now. He's watching our 21s play. We're like, he's put 4 or 5 first teamers in there to get minutes. And we're talking about a couple of signings potentially before the window if something comes up that we think we like the look of for next year. He controls the training ground. He controls the staff. He controls it. And I said to him on Saturday and Sunday, a big thing was as well, you have to be the leader here and control everything. He very much manages with consultancy with his coaches and everyone else. He's very good like that. But I said to him, you need to take the reins here yourself. Because I think everyone's kind of like not struggling, but not at their best at the moment from the expectation, the pressure. And I'm like, this is where you can show you the best. Like lead. And, you know, I said, I'm here for you for anything you need, but just lead. You know, I'll take care of everything else. You lead. And that is the best way to handle things. And I was very proud of him last night because there was a time in the touchline, I thought, here we go. He's going to get yellow carded again. He was very, very calm. He was calm. So that's why he's the best in League One. So we start winning, we take care of that issue, and then we rebuild for next season. I'm very, very, very excited about that. So we always talk about the negativity, and there's nothing to be excited about. You know, you've no divine right to win football games every week. And as shown with us not winning in League One for 45 days, you know, that just shows you. And our players are far better than that. Far better than that, you know, not to win. And to go and lose to Lincoln 5-1. And make it a walk in the park for Lincoln, with all due respect. Like, no, that can't happen. So let's see. Let's see if they can go to Bristol on Sunday. Bristol are fighting for their lives. You know, let's see if we can go there and get a clean sheet, win a game, and go on from there. And that's all we can do.
They have to make sure that Lincoln was the bottom.
100%. And I'd said that on Saturday night. Like, you know, fuck me. We're in a real battle here. And that has to be like rock fucking bottom and kick on now. You know, so I said last night when a gaff came up to see me after the game, Lincoln might have done him a favour and us a favour on Saturday with some of the team stuff, the selections, the this, the that. Lincoln just might have been that turning point you want. Let's see, because if you go and shit the bed at Bristol and play like against Lincoln, well, then it's not. Right. And that can't be us. That can't be our identity.
You can only decide that when you look back in 2 months' time and see what your trajectory was from there.
I always say, and I drove up yesterday to the game, my driver was saying to me, you know, Saturday, what happened? I'm like, look, I don't care about losing games as long as we give everything. We can't do that. Like, we do that. That's unacceptable. It's like fucking unacceptable. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? Let's get through it. And I think it'll make us stronger and better for it. So that's the exciting part for me. We come through it and win a lot of games. The experience for some of the younger players, they'll be fucking miles better next year. As much as some of our fans think they're shit signings and this, that, whatever else, they're not. Some really, really, really good signings there. Some really good players. And as good as we were last year and as bad as we are this year, things change quickly. We will be very, very, very fucking good once we kick on this season and go into next season.
And young players, I mean, I'm seeing this with the confidence that we have at the moment and we're playing. There's young players who 3 months ago I looked at and thought, not really sure that they're fit for the first team. You know, now they're like the first people on the team sheet. And
now you wouldn't sell them.
Right. Young players can grow quickly.
And I've seen that. Well, what we've done the last 3 years, you know, young players can make you look stupid. 1 minute you're like, I want rid of him. He's no good. He hasn't got the bollocks. He hasn't got the character. And it's unfair sometimes to ask certain young players to have the bollocks and the character when they've only played 20 games of football. And sometimes we have to remember that. It's new to them. And a lot of players we had this year, and even some from last year, the younger ones, they've not experienced this before. So sometimes you've got to give them that. What the manager did last night, you took some of them out that you felt, take them out of that mental area, that pressure. Maybe they're not ready for this. Maybe they're not up for this. But we'll blend them back in again. So, you know, that's the right way. And as you just said there, Bradford can't help but win every game they play. Right. Because you're in that run of hopefully a promotion run or a League Two title winning run if you're not too far behind. Where like every time you play, you feel like you're going to win. You're feeling it as a fan. The players are feeling it. You know, the management team will be feeling it. Young players will be playing with confidence. Yep. That's what you want. I always talk about catching fire going into January. You've done exactly what I've been talking about, which I hoped we'd do December, January, and we went the other way. You've gone on fire. Yep. We went out like a damn squib fucking in December. It was almost like we lost fucking 𝗛𝗿𝗂𝗧𝗿𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗏 and everything just went, but you know what I mean?
And 2 months ago, you know, there were a lot of people were calling for Graham Alexander's head. So that's how quickly things change.
100%. 100%. So a couple of more posh questions before we start talking about the mighty Bantams.
Yeah, so you talked about you have your eye on maybe 1 or 2 for transfer deadline. Do you expect, or do you need to have some outgoings first? I know you had a few first team players in the game today. I saw the team sheet. You know, probably a couple of folks in there that you might want to move on.
Yeah,
you need to move people on to get people in.
I think there might be, you know, one potential sale, you know, of a decent level.
Yeah.
That was already kind of like, we knew this was going to happen. And I think what we'll do, we always spoke about potentially bringing in another winger for the summer.
Yeah.
As 𝗛𝗵𝗃's replacement.
Yeah.
So potentially, if things fall in the right way, I'll go and get one now.
Mm-hmm.
If not, we'll do it in the summer.
Yeah.
And secondly, we're going to sign, and we'll probably sign a young central midfielder for the 21s, more to partner Eddie Fox, who's come from our academy and now broke into the 21s, to be his partner next season, with an eye on he will be good enough to go into our first team eventually. So that's a deal we're going to try and piece together. There won't really be anything else to do. We have a big squad, so it'll really only be about is there a gem there we like? Is there an opportunity to do something we like? That kind of business, not oh, we need to do this business.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
gap that we need to fill still in there.
No. We just need to, like, we've touched wood without injuries. We have a lot of cover in all the key areas, so it will just be gem type signings. Maybe a winger, you know, will come in. Will they go into the 11 of the squad? Probably not right now, but that's what we're kind of planning on. So we'll see how the next few days progress.
When you look at we're talking about how hard it is for younger players, you know, and they're in situations that they're not used to being in when when you've had a lot of defeats. In hindsight, do you look back and think, you know what, maybe we should have had more experience at the back? Or, you know, is it just circumstantial that what's happened has happened and you needed that because of the situation versus we should have gone with somebody a bit more experienced? Like,
no, you know, I you know, we don't have a crystal ball. I honestly thought a back line of you know, Rio from Crewe at left back. We felt Jadel, you know, with JD at right back would be solid. And then we felt like we you know, we obviously had Manny and we had Oscar and then George, but we were going to get another centre half. And we felt, you know, we got beaten to the punch a few times, you know, during the summer, you know, in that area, you know, centre half. That was probably the most glaring area. Obviously not knowing Rio was going to get injured.
Right.
So you know, the glaring one was centre back. The right back thing was, we always knew maybe January we were going to get another one, but we thought after last year, like, you know, Jadel filled in really well. And we thought, you know, JD would be fine. And, you know, JD's been great. He's been in and out. Jadel's been injured a lot of the time. It's just no consistency there. At left back, it's just been a fucking shit show. And then obviously at centre back, you know, Oscar play well, play bad. Manny play well, play bad. George really hasn't had a chance because maybe the management team think, oh, he needs to be more physically ready, but he's not, even though he was brilliant last night. And I think he could get a run. So the biggest glaring mistake would be maybe if we'd signed maybe a Hughes in the summer and got that deal done, we'd maybe be different at the back.
Yeah.
But, you know, you could look back and, you know, you go to midfield and out Hector and his injuries and out of form. And, you know, you look at, you know, Randall in and out problems, you know, you look at 𝗛𝗵𝗃, the injuries. It's just like everywhere I look, you know, there's like areas of our team have had problems.
Yeah,
left back, right back, centre back, central midfield. And by the way, pretty much all key areas. And then you lose the best player in the league in December. You know, 𝗛𝗵𝗃 plays the last 6, 7, 8 games. Maybe you win half of them. You know, I'm not trying to, you know, bullshit, but you probably have a good chance of that night 𝗛𝗵𝗃 went down injured against Burton. Maybe we win that game. Maybe we run into Christmas, we pick up another couple of wins. You know, and you're suddenly 10 points better off right now. And as bad as the season it's been, you still think, okay, you know, whatever. But you lose, he's the best player in the fucking league. It's like losing 𝗛𝗵𝗃 was like Liverpool losing Salah.
Yeah.
For 3 months. That's the importance of 𝗛𝗵𝗃 to us. So, yeah.
Why didn't Jack Sparks work?
I don't know, because I'm sure he's doing great for Chesterfield.
Right.
I don't know. You know, great lad. But I'd love to not like him. But he's a really likable guy. You know, we tried to sign Jack Sparks 2 years before. Portsmouth beat us to signing him. We were trying to sign him to be before. I always thought Harrison was a left back. Everyone disagreed with me. So they wanted us to sign Jack Sparks. And if we'd signed him, Harrison probably would have never played that year. Like, you know, or he won Player of the Year or whatever else. But I don't know. I don't know why it hasn't worked out for him. He's definitely not been at the level I think he'd say so himself that he should be. Maybe he'll find it at Chesterfield. There's definitely a player in there. I'm sure the Chesterfield fans will like him, what he's doing there. It's been really, really disappointing for him and us. So I don't want to throw him under the bus. Sometimes transfers just don't work. I'll give you another one. We signed Joe Tomlinson from non-league.
Yeah.
We thought he was going to be the next big thing. We thought he was going to be one of these players. Wow, 100 grand, turn into a flying left back, goals, assists, everything. He was never fit for us. He was never available. You know, got in, out, didn't fancy it, you know, whatever. He goes to MK Dons. He's the best left wing back in League Two by a fucking mile. Yeah. If you look at all the data right now, Joe Tomlinson by a fucking country mile. Ask my fans about Joe Tomlinson and be like, what? Unbelievable. So we recruited the right player. It just didn't work out for him or us. Sometimes that happens. It's bizarre. So I don't know what to say to you. It's fucking bizarre. Chesterfield won a game 3-0 last night, and they had two fullbacks that played for us. Sparks left back, and the boy we signed to our 21s last year in a 6-month contract. I'm sure they both look like world beaters. You know, we had a boy on loan from where did he come from? I forget where he came from. He ended up at Plymouth, you know, and he Ballymumba from Norwich. And he basically was brilliant for us in his first game, looked like a world beater, struggled for the rest of the season, went on loan to Plymouth in League One, and then Plymouth paid £1 million for him.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't, you know, I could go right back to having Danny Rose from Spurs on loan, and he was an absolute bag of shit for us. Like, sometimes time, you know, it's really weird, you know, people talk about recruitment and this, that, whatever else. It's like, I've been doing it 19 years. You don't become shit at recruiting players overnight. You know, it's like, you know, just sometimes things don't work. So that would be my explanation for it. I wish I knew the answer.
All right. Well, let's move on. Well, I'll talk a little bit about our run at City recently. So
give it to me.
We, since the last episode, we were coming up to Walsall, and we had Walsall who had, I think, won 9 on the spin.
Until they met the mighty Posh.
Yeah. Yes. In fact, 9 league games on the spin, I'd say. And I think the last time they lost was the beginning of October or something crazy.
Yeah.
And they rolled into town, and we took them apart. Honestly, it wasn't like they played badly. You know, they had a lot of real intensity the first 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
You're kind of watching it thinking, you know, I can see why they're 15 points clear at the top of it. But you know, we kept with them and got one, and we never let it go. We just kind of dominated the game from there, which was, you know, performance of the season, I think, for us by a country mile.
All day long. What was the gate?
It's like 17,800 or something like that. It's somewhere between 17 and 18,000. There weren't that many, relatively speaking, from Walsall. I think they brought 700 or 800.
Yeah.
But you know, just a real good feel-good factor after that. And you know, it's a lot of we talked a little while ago about there's a top 3 team here. They just need to play together. We just talked about all the injury problems you've had. You know, the injury problems that we had at the start of the season, and for now, knock on wood, where we really got a full, clean bill of health, and it's showing. And now we've got a lot of competition, and now you've got players not even in the squad who would have probably expected to be in the first team.
Brilliant.
Which is, you know, it's great because it's keeping everyone on their toes. And so, you know, we had the 3-0 against Walsall, and then last night we had Morecambe.
Your bogey manager. You did it.
Delusional Eric Adams. And
look at Phil's face. Look at your face. Honestly, you waited a long time to say that.
It's funny how, you know, I'm thinking back to his interview after. So we won the game 1-0. It was scrappy. I think we were always in control of the game. You know, we dominated the game. We should have had more. I never really felt at risk. I mean, there were a few moments, you know, where they had chances. But we thought going into that, the biggest tell of this team would be how we did against Morecambe rather than how we did against Walsall, because we always mess up against, you know, the lower clubs, especially Morecambe. And no, I'm smiling because in his post-match interview, it's like, oh, you know, Bradford, we gave them a game and they weren't really in it. And
he pulled the Steve Evans. You know,
and you look at the stats, and the stats are like 16 shots to 3. you know, and he's trying to make it out that we got lucky. But that's just, you know, that's just Derek Adams.
So do we now start giving credit to Ryan and to the ownership and to the recruitments? You know, the Bradford fans have been very vocal about, you know, Ryan Sparks out, and very vocal about the owner out, and very vocal about the recruitment and the manager. Do you start, at what stage do you give now credit and props to them that they've done a good job?
I think there's a portion of supporters that will never give them credit.
Okay.
You know, because they probably have so set in their ways and what their beliefs and opinions are. And this is, you know, I get called a happy clapper, but you know, I knew there was money there to be spent. We didn't spend all our money in the summer, and then we got kind of knocked back by all the players getting injured. And so I had a good feeling that we were going to strengthen whatever. And what's been really good for us in the way it's worked is that we've strengthened into strength, if you know what I mean. Like we're doing well, and we've been able to still strengthen rather than strengthening from a position of weakness. You know, aside from Andy Cook going down, but since Andy Cook went down, we've won all of our games.
Exactly, which we spoke about months ago about moving on.
Yeah,
you know,
playing slightly different formation.
Yeah.
And goals now coming from, you know, all over the pitch, as opposed to relying on him to score the goals. So I think that you know, we got youngsters, as I said before, a fullback called Lewis Richards, who
I know all about him.
Yeah, who was, you know, didn't really do great, and now he looks like he's a world beater. Bobby Poynton, we've talked about, you know, a lot over the last 18 months or so, and we talked at the start of the season how he's an impact player, but I couldn't really see him making a difference from the start. Well, now he makes a difference from the start. You know, these young players just kind of growing.
Shock horror. Young player suddenly becomes like a good player in the team. Shock horror.
So hopefully I'm not getting carried away, because we're a streaky team.
You're allowed to. You're allowed to. Look, first off, when your team's having a shit time, and you've had a shit time for a while, you're allowed to. Sometimes fans and owners and everyone else, you know, forget to enjoy the moment. Fucking enjoy it. Get carried away. That's what momentum's about. That's what belief is about. Allow yourself to dream about, let's get fucking automatic sewn up by the end of March.
Yeah. I mean,
fucking mine, why not? Why not you?
Yeah, I mean, we're on form. We're joint second now.
Yeah.
I mean, it is still Stoke with 2 points from 7th. So it's not like, you know, you're patting yourself on the back. You know, Graham Alexander, as you would expect him to say when he was asked about the league position, just laughed. You know, last night.
The right thing to do. The right thing to do. Just keep winning. Just keep winning, because that league is one of them leagues. So you win 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a row, you're up. Yeah. When we got promoted from League 2 back in 2007 or whatever it was, we fucking were horrendous. We were like, by January, we were, I want to say, 9th or 10th. We won 15 of the next 16 games and lost the league title by 2 points to MK Dons. We went on a run. You guys are on a run. You're on that kind of run. So fucking there's no dominating team, bar Walsall, that are there. You can absolutely fucking take this all the way. So, you know, that's so. Look, I'm going to give props to Ryan Sparks, to the ownership, to David Sharp. Well done. You know, hold your powder in January.
They've taken a lot of crap.
Keep going, taking a lot of crap. Get your promotion, and then you can go and onwards and upwards for what is a massive football club.
And so we've got Wimbledon on Saturday. So that's going to be the next big test.
Great game.
You know, Wimbledon are 5th, I think. They've got a game in hand over us. To win that game in hand, they would go second away from home.
Good team.
So that's going to be a real big test, but it should be a great game. You know, looking forward to it. And we're going into that thinking, why shouldn't we win? As opposed to looking 100%. At it thinking, you know, hopefully we can nick a point from that.
You're back to feeling like Bradford. He should be beating every team in League 2.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with feeling like that. Sometimes you can get called arrogant as a big club. But, you know, Birmingham go into every game in League 1 feeling they should win. Bradford should always be that club. So, you know, let's see where it takes you.
Yeah, but it feels good at the moment. It's nice to go into a game thinking we're going to win. And the football's good.
Beautiful.
You know, it's just nice passing football. The players seem to know where each other is. You know, there's a lot of link-ups and connections. Just all the things that you know, we're not just scraping these wins.
No, perfect. It's exactly what you want. So, title of the podcast today, the Posh Bradford win double.
Yeah,
here's the many more.
It's not very often that I'm speaking, you know. So
hey, the flip on this, do you know what I mean, is unbelievable. That's football. That's the beauty about our games. You know what I mean? So, you know, hopefully we'll win a lot of games. Hopefully we both, you know, get to the cup final, and then we'll be in ecstasy, right?
Yeah, so you've got Cheltenham as well. Is it midweek next week? You got Cheltenham?
Yes, Cheltenham next week. You've got, who have you got?
Rotherham away.
Okay, tough one. They're kind of showing form. So,
Yeah.
but the form you're in, I mean, you know,
Yeah, we shouldn't be afraid of anyone in the bottom two tiers at the moment.
Yeah,
with the
just need you to knock off Rotherham and knock off Birmingham in the semis.
Easy, right?
Yeah. We'll then meet in the final. That would be the dream scenario.
Maybe somebody else can take Birmingham for us.
No. We're all right with you taking them if we can both get past our quarterfinal opponents.
Yeah.
You know, for Cheltenham are no mugs, so that won't be easy for us. So we've got to be on it, and you know, you're the same with Rotherham. So listen, that would be the dream. You know, we nearly got it last year, so let's hope we get it this year.
Well, let's move on to transfer deadline before we wrap up.
Sure.
So transfer deadline is on Monday, February 3rd this year, isn't it? A couple of questions that we got in from listeners just around transfer deadline day. First one is, how long can a transfer take to complete on deadline day? You know, can it be that it comes around, you know, at 10 o'clock in the evening and you're done by 11? And
if it's a loan, it can be really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really need medicals, whatever else. If it's a signing where you're not paying a lot of money, you're not going to have a chance to do a medical. As long as your documents are in the system, like we saw at Bristol Rovers last year with the Johnson Clark Harris thing. If you upload the documents, and if you're going to be late, you get 15 minutes special dispensation as long as you alert them on the system online. Your transfer can be done very quickly. It can be done in minutes. You know, on deadline day in the summer, I signed the Colchester boy very late in the window because dealing with Robbie all day at Colchester. So, you know, you can push it right to the end. The latest we've ever done one is we got a striker on loan from Cardiff years ago. I forget his name. And that was done. Liz had already gone home. She had to get back to the office. So I think we did it with like 4 minutes to spare. So it can be done.
Are medicals less rigorous on transfer deadline day?
Yes. Because most medicals can take 2 days because you're waiting for scans, blood results, all of that. So a lot of the time you're pissing in the wind and you're taking a chance. And after what's happened to us recently, there's no way I'll be taking those chances if we're paying money out for a player. We'll be doing proper medicals. So it can happen lower down the pyramid where medicals don't happen. It's basically the physios feeling your bollocks, your arms, your legs, making you run on a running machine. You're all right. You're fine. It's like pass. So yeah, no, that's kind of, you know, part.
How do you feel about, you know, are there extra mitigations? Like, can you mitigate the risks associated with not having a medical, or is it just you taking a flight?
I think there are times where you can do a subject to medical. I'm not clear on this because, you know, some clubs can disagree where you go, we're signing your player subject to medical passed. So you get all the paperwork in, but it's subject to medical, which could come after, but that could be dicey.
Yeah.
So, and if you're the selling club and you're thinking, well, the other club could then pull out at any time and find a medical reason and so you just a bit like that, you know what I mean? So, you know, we did Ephraim Mason-Clark last year on deadline day and he came back on loan. The biggest rush was getting the loan and trusting Coventry to put the loan documents in.
Yeah. Do players use deadline day as a way to force a move? Or to get a new contract? Like, I've got an offer on deadline day.
Contracts not so much, but moves, yes. Lee Tomlin, you know, once threatened to fly to America. You know what I mean? Which I'm not the guy you make that threat to, because I'd have beaten the shit out of Lee, and I love Lee. But, you know, to get his move to Middlesbrough, because I turned down like so many moves in the summer. So, yeah, deadline day can be one of them. Like, you know, sometimes January is a great month to sign the players for the future. We once signed Jack Taylor in January, with Schmollick's in January. We had some key pieces that played a key part of the following season. So, for example, this January, we've signed Carl Johnson. Yeah. We've signed Hughes. We've signed Teo. We've signed Gustav. Yeah. I would call them 4 very, very good signings. Hopefully all will be longer term. Yeah. That will be part of the pieces for us next year. That will be big pieces. So, you know, if I can maybe add a couple more, I'd be delighted to. If I don't, I don't. But if I can, great. Then you've got, okay, then you only in the summer need 2 or 3. Because this whole thing every summer of 7, 8, 9 new players in camp, done with that. Yeah. So, you know.
I know that you prefer not to go the loan route unless you're loaning somebody from a Manchester City or, you know, from somebody who's just a young kid who can be something you've not got. But when you're going down the loan route for more experienced players, are you always doing that with a view to a permanent?
Yeah, I think so. You know, depending on, you know, if the club, you know, lets them go. Like, you know, I wouldn't be expecting to pay a fee for any of them. Do you know what I mean? Because they're like surplus to requirements. If their clubs get cute, then we'll move on. Yeah. You know, particularly for an older player, we don't get fees for them, so we're not giving fees for them either. You know, sometimes you'll sign a player. Leyton Orient are a great example of a club the last couple of years have recruited really well with players on loan that they make permanent signings. Ollie O'Neill, a couple of other ones. you know, and they've done really good business. I have to give kudos to them. Their recruitment's been fucking unbelievable the last 2 years. It's why they're flying up the league. It's why they're doing really well. And, you know, sometimes it puts you on notice that you've got to up your own game. And, you know, I had a meeting with my scouts today, speaking with the manager, my scouts, the people at the club, and go, look, we got to up our game here. You know, we've recruited some really good players. We've sold a lot of players. We've got to up our game. We've got to be better. And it can't just be international. You know, clubs are trying to do what we do. So we have to, like, you know, reawaken the beast and up our game on that side of things. And we will.
Do you find that the results of January impact your targets?
Yeah, well, you get gun shy because you think, well, if I go and sign a non-league player, with the fucking fans will be like, oh, fucking 19th in the league. What are you doing signing? And I said this morning, that can't be a reason not to sign a good player. We can't get clouded because we're not playing well. We can't get clouded because maybe people are criticizing, because that will cloud our judgment. We missed the player this window that went to the champ that we could have signed, and we got clouded because they were non-league. And we can't do that. That's a mistake.
Yeah.
We have to stick to our guns. We're good at what we do. You know, as Barry said to me a week ago, Chairman, you've got offers in the millions for so many players for a team that's 19th in the league, not winning a football game. Trust your judgment, trust your recruitment. Because, you know, everyone's trying to buy our players, and this team can't win a fucking game of football. So the recruitment's good. It's just putting it together. So, you know, and that's what I said to my guys today, and me as well, the manager. We have to back our judgments and just not go, oh, we're going to shy away from that because it's non-league. We were going to sign our player, and they were going to go on our 21s. Now they've gone to a top 8 club in the champ. You know, and that deal was there to be done, and we didn't do it. So, you know, you can't get gun shy. The one thing I learned through, you know, adversity is to persevere if you believe what you're doing is the right thing. So, you know, and I said the same to the manager about our style of football, our overall, what we do youngster wise. We can't go away from that because we've had a shit 6 months.
Yeah.
And he agreed with me. So I think that's an important message.
So last question. I kind of smile from past experiences that, you know, we've been involved in as I ask this, but how hard is it to keep your business a secret, to stop other clubs moving in at the last minute on deadline day?
Nightmare, because every club you deal with knows Peterborough's name always drags a lot of attention into the circle. And you'll often find the clubs we bid for players, particularly lower down the pyramid, they leak it. They leak it on purpose. The agent leaks it because they think, well, people see Peterborough. There'll be other clubs reading it and go, we're going after that player because fuck me, look at the players they sell.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like we did really well with the 𝗛𝗂 and the Hughes signing and the Carl Johnson one. Because the Carl Johnson signing was done, as I said, Joe, was in London. It was done in the space of 45 minutes with him coming that night. It came out of nowhere. But even after we'd done his medical and signed, some fucker leaked it online before we did. Because again, this is what goes on in the game. So it pisses me off sometimes, some of the leaks and the shit that happened. But what can you fucking do?
Right. Now, I'm reminded we had one player on transfer deadline day. I think it was Christian Dennis back in the day, who was there, you know, pizza in hand, ready to sign his contract. And he often went somewhere else at the last minute. I think that
and we nicked Dembele off.
I was about to say, you know, Dembele was at Valley Parade with Edin Rahic back in the day, ready to sign. And
but that wasn't the press. That was the agent basically, and it was us making the call because we'd always had him on our sheet of talent. You know, another one was Gwion Edwards years ago. I'd always loved Gwion, and we'd gone in for him, and I think it was Colchester or Crawley. Crawley wanted too much money for him. And I was sitting in my office on deadline day, and it came up on a gossip site that Gwion Edwards was going somewhere for 150 grand. And I made the phone call straight away, and we signed him 2 hours later for 175 because he was going somewhere. And we were like, fuck, you wanted $500,000 from a year ago. Yeah. And I was like, 175, you fucking bargain. You know, so yeah, it was like, you know, Gwion was a good player. So sometimes that happens in the game.
Who leaks this kind of stuff? So, you know, so, for example, Dembele. How did you know that Dembele was at Valley Parade? Is that the agent that's saying?
I was in the office of Barry and Liz and said, "Look, can you make a call to the agent and Dembele?" Yeah. You know, Grant McCann had liked him. Steve Evans, I'd always liked Dembele. Yeah. So, you know, he was on our list. So we suddenly were in a position where we had money. We rang his club first of all, and his club told us he was going. Grimsby, it was John Fenty, told us he was on his way to Bradford. He'd agreed a deal for 150. We were like, 150. So we rang the agent and said, where are you? And he said, we're pulling into the car park. And I screamed over the phone, do me a favor, turn the car around. And the boy was in the car and said, look what we do for wingers. And all I could hear was a screech. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so yes, then he had to travel from Bradford to Peterborough, you know, to get the deal done. So I never felt guilty over that. And, You know, we made
Worked out well for you.
Made $1.5 million and a promotion, so it was all right.
Yeah.
You know, it was good, 150 grand spent. You know, so yeah, you're always going to try, and I would never apologise because Bradford could steal players from us. At the end of the day, that's just the business we're in.
Yeah.
You know, we're not doing anything illegal. We had permission from Grimsby to speak to the player, and Fenty, God love him, wanted him to come to us because of what we do with players.
Yeah, he was going to get more potential.
He was.
And
he was like, fuck Barry. He's like on the phone, Barry, I'll sell him to you for 10 grand less because of the fucking sell on. You know, so yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, I could write a book on.
You got to look after yourself.
100%. Absolutely. So that's the game. So you know, no hard feelings. You know, the 72 of us out there, we're all trying to do the same thing. I've lost many a good player to Brentford over the years because their data analytics is the same as mine.
Yeah.
We lost Ollie Watkins to them. We lost, like, I could name like 5 players we lost to them because they were on the high going to the champ or in the champ.
They can spend some more money on those players.
100%. We lost so many good players to them over the years, so it's not even funny. Yeah, that's just the game. That's the business. When you are where you are, it's a struggle sometimes if a bigger club comes in a higher position.
All right, well, let's call that a day.
Alrighty.
Good luck on transfer deadline day.
Good luck on well, to you guys as well, and have a good weekend and a good window. And we'll speak next week.
Yep. All right. Well, any questions, please send them in usual places, and we'll be back again, all being well, next week. All right.
Good.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.